Hey, it's Dr. Phil, but then you knew that. Let's fill in the blanks, and today I'm speaking with a good friend of mine, one of the most recognizable and influential culinary stars in the world, Guy Fieri. Now, he is a chef, restaurateur, New York Times best-selling author, Emmy Award-winning TV host, and a very generous philanthropist. In 2019, Guy received a star on the celebrated Hollywood Walk of Fame, a rare feat for a chef. I mean, come on. On land and at sea, from Las Vegas Strip to the Atlantic City Boardwalk, from South Africa to Colombia, and from Costa Rica to Dubai, Guy's culinary creations and spirits are enjoyed globally every day. Now, he's not a fancy kind of chef. You're not going to see him with like the buttoned-up white thing and the big fluffy hat. He first showed up to compete as a chef on the Food Network. Everybody else was buttoned up that way, but not him. I think he showed up in a motorcycle jacket and had forgotten to comb his hair, which I think he still forgot to do. But he has a passion for food. He has a passion for people. And he has a passion for creating an experience around food. He's been doing it since he was 12 years old. He's from Northern California, a little town called Ferndale. He'll tell you why you should know that town. You've probably seen it and don't know it. It was made very famous in a movie, but he's been at this a long time. You can call him a chef. I call him a people person, and I also call him a good friend. So let's talk to Guy Fieri. Guy?
What's up, buddy?
Hey, there you are.
How you been, man?
I'm all right. How about you?
You know, same stuff, different day.
Yeah.
Hot, fast, and out of control.
Yeah, I don't think you have 2 days alike ever.
I think we're probably correct on that one.
Yeah. How have you been?
I've been good, man. And about yourself? It seems like you're just about as busy as everybody else is.
Where do I find you today?
I'm home, Northern California, up in the wine country.
Yeah.
So I just got back. I've been on a little bit of a tour. I was doing some charity gigs and shooting some Triple D and, you name it.
Yeah, my God. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this.
It's all because it's you, boss, just so you know. I was watching a show with you the other day, and it's so funny because I don't watch a lot of TV, but you had me sucked in on it so bad. And right at the end of the goddamn show, you went to the second piece. It was about the guy that was getting catfished from the girl that had, that you went to all the different towns she was supposedly living in, the money and the whole thing, and the cute girl and the 60-year-old dude that was, I don't know if you remember any episodes. It's like me, someone saying about Triple D, but I'm not kidding you, brother. It was so good. And my wife was sitting there laughing at me. She goes, "To the guy that doesn't watch TV, you're just sucked into this." I'm like, "Would you find out when the second piece of this is coming out? I want to see how this ends."
Yeah, I remember that one. Aren't those tragic, though?
How blind can they be to life to see all this? And yet, I don't know. Love is, I guess they say love is blind, right?
Logic stands no chance against love.
Or lust.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That was a great show, though. It was a great show.
Well,
I love what you do.
I love what you do. Listen, I got to ask some questions about something I know you are really passionate about, and we're fortunately starting to come out of this pandemic, but you've got more involvement in the food industry and the restaurant industry. We'll talk about the television part of it in a minute, but what in the world did this do to the restaurant industry for this 2 years? They rallied around the airline industry, but man, they were sure slow coming to the support of the restaurant industry. What did it do to these people for 2 years, shutting everything down?
Well, it's so funny that you use the airline industry as an example, and I'm happy that anybody was supported. I mean, you know it. You're a frontline guy. You're aware of, got your finger on the pulse. The airline industry is owned by a lot of big people with a lot of big money and a lot of big unification. And the restaurant industry isn't as unified, as although we're all brothers and sisters in the business, and most everybody loves each other and wants to help each other. There's an organization, the National Restaurant Association, which is kind of the biggest voice we have. But otherwise, it's a bunch of individuals.
Yeah.
And that doesn't give you as much muscle as if you're a United Airlines with stockholders and and all those connections that they have. So yeah, it was incredibly difficult. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm happy that anybody got love and support from the government and got some recognition and some money. But in the restaurant business, the restaurant industry is filled with a bunch of creative, adapting, facing difficult situations and achieving through them. And that's what it really is. I've always said that I'm a jack of all trade and a master of none. We are marketing, we are electricians, we are cooks, we are servers, we are accountants, we're all of it. And so what we watch the industry do, which we do so well, is we learn to pivot. Not everybody made that pivot. Not everybody was able to transition to outdoor dining or transition to how to bring in money and how to get their team. So not everybody made it. But fortunately, after 2 years now, we're coming out of the fog, out of the fire, out of the smoke, and we're starting to see restaurants rebuild and reopen, and new restaurants come about. But in that time that we've been through it, there's been a lot of suffering, a lot of people lost.
Well, I really wonder how many local mom and pops that had been in business for 20, 25, 30 years because it's such a low margin business. I wonder how many of them closed that never got back open and they just lost everything in 2 years that they had had for 20, 25 years.
Tens of thousands.
Is it
Tens of
that much?
thousands. Oh yeah. And the thing that's so difficult about it is even those that have come back now, there's been such an employment shortage that, I was just having a big staff meeting with my team today, and we're opening restaurants around the country. And that's the number one thing is everybody's like, where did everyone go? Where's the workforce? And so people, maybe it wasn't their finances, probably wasn't because of their food, because they were already in business before the pandemic happened.
Right.
A lot of them really came under fire because they just couldn't get staff.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand as much as they're like, oh, why did that place go out of business? It really probably wasn't their finances. I mean, granted, you run out of money after a while. Some landlords weren't giving some consideration to the situation. But so many times when I would check a past Triple D joint that we did and say, what happened to them? And people would just say, couldn't get staff. Can't get staff, can't pay the bills.
Well, I'm wondering what you and they have found out to be the issue, because it appears to me, and listen, I've just talked to people that were in the hospitality business as wait staff or front desk hosts or hostesses that have just straight up said, look, I can make more money staying at home. I don't have to get childcare. I don't have to do the commute. I don't have to have the wardrobe. And it appears to me from a psychological standpoint, we're rewarding bad behavior. We're paying people not to work. Am I wrong, or is it more complex than that? I'm sure there are other factors, but that's got to be one of them.
As always, boss, you got your finger on the pulse of America, and you're reading it. You're seeing the forest through the trees. Do not misunderstand me when I say there are people. There are single family, single parent families. There are situations that are situations, that
Right.
It does not make financial sense. But I think we've just got an abundance of people that are looking at it saying, listen, I don't do anything. I get paid similar amount. I don't have to make the hassle to drive the commute, the thing, this. And yeah, do I think there's that epidemic? Is epidemic the right word? Do I think there's that problem? Yes, I really do. I don't have clinical information to explain it, but I do know from enough of my friends and enough of my restaurants that we'll say to people, where are they? What are they doing? And people are just like, and nobody's waving the flag saying, hey, just so you know, I'm over here doing this. And this is, how I'm getting away with it. No one's getting really loud about it, but there is enough undercurrent, enough undertone with folks that this is really, we've got to figure out how to stop this, because we're setting the wrong example. We were just having a conversation the other day about how do kids that went through kindergarten and first grade, never going to school, now acclimate coming into second grade. And the same thing goes with people, these young adults that are coming out of high school that didn't get to finish high school in high school, now get into college, haven't been to the college, and haven't had a job. how do we acclimate them into coming into the workforce now? I mean, we've had a 2-year break that if we don't recycle, if we don't recalibrate, if we don't do something, I think we're going to feel this echo, this reverberation of this unemployment, lack of workforce for quite a while. And then what's going to happen, and I think you probably are aware of this, once this does come full cycle, there's going to be a lot of jobs that people are looking for that there aren't any jobs because people figure out how to replace them with technology or lack of. I mean, restaurants that are going to single serve, going to counter service versus doing full service. And these types of jobs in the restaurant business have been so critical to our workforce in America because they're typically the second job for somebody. So that's given families the opportunity, because the adaptability of hours in the restaurant business being from early morning to late night, that people have been able to do their job and then have a second job or have a job on the weekends and create that extra income. But I'm worried that when the workforce does wake up or the funding is cut back, that they kind of look at it and go, oh, wait a second, why is there no more jobs? Well, because restaurants had to figure out how to do it.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because there are some people that legitimately are doing something different. There are single moms out there that
absolutely
the math just doesn't work because of a commute or because they've had to do something else. They're doing what they have to do for their family and for their kids. I get it. But I've also talked to those people that, and it's anecdotal, I acknowledge that, but they're just telling me, look, I'm no idiot. I can do the math. I'm getting paid not to work, and I'm not going to work. And then they go get some part-time job for cash or whatever, and they're actually making more money and not paying taxes on it. Really, it violates one of the most fundamental principles of psychology. Don't reward bad behavior, and we're paying people to not work. And then we say, what's wrong with supply chain? Why can't we get people to come in on the job? Because we're paying them not to. That just drives me crazy.
Well, I don't know. I met your son, and I remember we had that lunch in Beverly Hills one time, and so you've been through this as a parent. But it's watching my youngest son Ryder play basketball, and I remember when he was in little basketball, when he was looking, and there were some times that we went and played, and there was no score.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we teaching?
Yeah.
And my thing, do not get me wrong. I hate when my kid loses a game. I hate him crying in the car, not now, and now he's 16. But I hated that. But you know what it was? Those are the teaching times. That's when we talked about it, not about blaming the other players or blaming yourself or focusing, is we focus on what we can do better. I mean, so when we get into this thing of not participating in the reality, then we start to I think the word I used recently was homogenize. We're just pasteurizing everything. And where's the entrepreneurial spirit? Where are we generating that from? So no, I'm with you 1,000%. There are instances where people need that support, and amen. I think we should do everything we can. We're the strongest country in the world. We should act upon it. But in the same respect, we got to pull the blinders off and be responsible to the fact that we are putting ourselves in a situation where this is going to hurt a lot longer than we think if we keep this up.
How did you wind up on TV the first time?
You ever seen Cops?
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding.
You were the guy on the end of the bed with the T-shirt on, right? Who
the
looked
guy,
up
yeah,
and didn't seem surprised that the cops were in your bedroom?
Exactly. And then I gave him a whole big story. So I was. It's funny because there's a hot rod muffler company called Flowmaster, and they're in our town here in Santa Rosa.
Oh, really? I got Flowmaster 48s on my 57 Chevy.
Then you know it. You know it. So there was a guy named there's a guy that used to come in and come to my restaurant all the time, and he would say to me all the time, and he's Australian guy, he'd say, you really need to be on television. And we'd laugh about it. And I would make my commercial for my restaurant on the local cable network, because I would trade the cable TV owner guy for dinners in the restaurant. And, it's a small little community. And that was it. My aunts always used to tell me, my aunts at family reunions would tell me, oh, you got to be on TV. You're so funny. That went on and on and on. And I never took it seriously. All I wanted to be was a cook. All I wanted to do was own restaurants. And a couple of my buddies, there was a show on the Food Network called the Food Network Star, Next Food Network Star. And I didn't watch TV. I'm really not a big TV guy. And not because I don't think TV is great. It's just I work so much that when I come home, I'm typically, going to sleep. And they all told me about this show called the Food Network Star. And I never watched it. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know what the Food Network was. I said, who watches a show all that? I said, now, the Galloping Gourmet and Julia Childs, I'll watch that. But that was PBS back when I was a kid. Well, long story short, they talked me into signing up to send in the video to this show. And they pick it, and I go on the show. And I got there the day we started to do the show, and I look at everybody; they're all buttoned up in their chef coats, and I'm standing there in a cutoff T-shirt and a leather jacket, and I'm like, "This ain't gonna go well." Well, I ended up winning, and the rest was kind of history.
Yeah, well, you got awarded your own series, which was Guy's Big Bite, right?
Right, that was the first one. And then they gave me another show called "Gotta Get It." And I shot the pilot for it. I didn't know anything about TV. I mean, I became a student of TV real fast. Now I produce 9 shows and, host 4 of them. And, now I think just kind of like you do, you take what you do. And then if you're going to immerse yourself into it, you got to know the 360. So now I'm a whole different place. But back then I went and did this show called Gotta Get It. And I shot the pilot for it, and I did my part. And it got picked up for 13 episodes, and they said, congratulations, you got a primetime show. It's called Gotta Get It. I'm like, oh, hey, I don't want to do that show. Like, what? I'm like, no, I did the pilot, but I know that meant it's had to go to a show. Yeah, I can't do that show. Like, what do you mean you can't do the show? Well, it went through about 6 levels of people through the Food Network and this production company. Everybody just read me the riot act of me wasting everybody's time. I said, I just got to be real. And finally, to the president of the network, I said, let me just share something with you. I said, I'm 35 years old. I own 4 restaurants. I got 2 kids. I said, anything that I'm going to apply my time and energy to, I got to really believe in. And I don't believe in the show. And Brooke Johnson was our president. And she said, you are turning down. Why did you come to the network? Why did you? I said, I want to see what it was like. I said, I'll do another show. I just won't do this one. That was the thing. And the power in the no in the industry.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be willing, you got to stand on the ground. That could have been, live by the sword, die by the sword. And I wasn't trying to be an egomaniac or anything. It just was a show about gadgets in the kitchen. I'm not a gadget chef. I don't do that stuff. I'm a knife and cutting board and saute pan guy. And I didn't need an avocado peeler.
Yeah.
And that 6 months was the longest 6 months of sitting around. And they called me one day and they said, okay, we got another show. What would you think about a show that went around and checked out mom and pop restaurants in the country? And I said, that's my kind of show.
Yeah.
Highlighting my brothers and sisters. They said, okay, it's called Drivers, Diners, Dive-Ins, and Divers. I couldn't say the name for the longest time. That's why we call it Triple D all the time.
Yeah.
I said, what's it called? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives? That's my kind of thing. And that's how it got started.
Yeah, well, that's been on for how long now? That started in 2006.
2 decades, I think.
Yeah.
It feels like 10 decades. No, it has been. We're almost getting ready for, it's 3 locations per episode, and we're just getting ready to hit our 500th episode.
Wow.
So we've been doing it a while, and it's amazing what it does. We call it the restaurant lottery, and it's not me. I tell people all the time, please do not. I'm just the portal. I'm just the guy that gets you there. These places are there. These mom and pop joints are there. They're these amazing places around our country. We're the greatest country in the world. Just get off of the beaten path that you see all the chain restaurants on with all their big signs. Go to the street 2 rows over, and the one that's got the plywood sign, where there's 25 cars in front of. Go check that joint out.
Yeah. So what happens when a place gets picked for Triple D and they get on and get highlighted? What's the impact?
It really has to do with 3 factors. It has to do with how's the food, how's the story, and how's the character.
Yeah.
Sometimes the character's amazing, the food's simple, the story's good. Every 5, there'll be somebody that hits the trifecta where just each one of them is just boom, boom, boom out of the park. People love to tell me all the time, I know when you like something and when you hate something, when you love something. I said, well, you'll never see anything that I hate on the show. I'm not going to sell you a bag of beans. I won't lie to you. I tell you just the way it is. I'm not a food critic. I'm just a cook. And I'm just a guy that's tasting it and telling you what goes out of my mind is what comes out of my mouth. I'm not playing a game with you. But we've had in the hundreds of places that have opened multiple locations,
Really?
franchised. Oh, I can share stories with you about the stories of people just writing. So, we were at our last paycheck. We had mortgaged our home. Our kids weren't going to go to college. The list goes on and on and on. And like, you saved us. And I'm like, you know what? I really appreciate you think I did. I didn't save you. You were already doing what you're doing. All I did was shine the light on you. And you do that with so many people's lives and careers and family settings and so
Yeah,
forth.
sure.
These things exist. I just happen to be the guy that gets a chance to show it to you. And it's just overwhelming. But I love, people ask me, are you still happy doing the show? I said, no, again, don't get me wrong. I'm tired. 15 years on the road shooting a show is a long time. But knowing what it does for my brothers and sisters in the business, and I know how hard it is in the business, having had my own, individual restaurants, it's kind of like I can't turn it off. It's too important to the well-being.
Yeah, because it's hard to rise above the noise, and when one of them really pops, it really changes their lives.
I'm telling you, the stories are just overwhelming. And I'll go back and I'll see these people and they'll tell me where their lives have gone. We do a new show, not a new show. It's been going on for about 5 or 6 years now, called Triple D Nation. And where we go back to the restaurants and visit them, and they tell us the stories about how after the show aired, what happened. And even when a restaurant just doubles itself, it's not exactly double the income. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But wow, what an opportunity that people take it. And I tell them all the time, when I leave here, please make sure that your game is tight. Because when the Triple D fans show up, they will show up like it's free concert tickets. They are showing up for the party, and you need to be ready for them. And most of these folks really handle it right. And amen. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah. So while I'm asking you about all these things, you got to tell us about your foundation, because you're doing some amazing things. Your rescue trailer, you've served over 120,000 meals in relief at natural disasters like the Tubbs fire, the Camp Fire and Car Fire, the Kincaid Fire. 120,000 meals. You should really be proud of that.
Well, I appreciate it. And, I think just as you do, you're concerned about your community and concerned about the well-being of people. And you can't always wait for those situations to invite you to come help them. You got to sometimes put yourself into them. So when we had the first big fires up here, and it burned about a mile, not even a mile, about a block from my house, and we evacuated and everything was crazy. And I had to leave that morning after the fire, and we didn't even know the level of devastation that had happened here in the town of Santa Rosa. And I had to fly down to do a charity event down in Texas. And so as I landed to do the charity event, my dad called me and said, man, it was, because I left early. He says, it's bad. He says, when you get a chance, you need to come home. So I finished up the charity event, flew home. And as I was flying home, I called my guys and I said, I hear there's a bunch of people living at the gymnasiums. It burned down half the town. I said, what are they eating? So I called my buddy who works for Salvation Army. And he said, yeah, we're feeding them Uncrustable sandwiches and cold hot dogs. And I said, how many people are we talking about? He says, there's about 5,000 people. So I called all my chefs, all my guys that work in my team, and I said, fire up the smokers, because I have a bunch of restaurant equipment. I cook everything. And I said, fire up the smokers. I'm going to get home. We're going to start feeding people. So we just drove into the parking lot unannounced, just drove in with these big smokers, set up tables, started cooking food, and just started serving food to people. And everybody's like, where's this coming from? I said, we're just here to feed. And it was the only game in town. The whole town was shut down. There was no power in the town. So we started feeding people. And fortunately, about 3 days later, some friends of ours from a group called OBR, Operation Barbecue Relief, showed up. And they have a big swing. They know a lot of folks. And so they brought in a bunch of people. And then we were feeding them by the tens of thousands. Well, it gave me a thought. And that next week, I said, I'm not a governed body that has any rules to follow, and I can afford to pay for this myself. I'm just going to create my own rescue team that when shit goes down, I can handle it.
Right.
So I built a trailer, cost me $400,000. And I got some great donations for equipment. We got a Freightliner gave us a big Freightliner truck to haul it with because it's 48 feet long. It's massive. And we can feed anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 people out of this trailer. And when the fires happened, we could just deploy. So we started doing that, and that was great. We were able to help. We cooked Thanksgiving dinner for 15,000 up at the Paradise Fire. But you know what it was, is after that, we started saying, well, we don't have to be there first, because you know what happens sometimes is when people are on these fires for 30 or 40 days, they get pretty burned out. So what we started to do is coming in as a health and welfare. We started coming in as a positive to kind of as they will say, break the clock, like resetting the clock for them, because it's been the same monotonous situation. And all of a sudden, here comes Guy Fieri and his buddies and chefs from all over the country, and they're cooking us barbecue and making macaroni. They're making mac and cheese with bacon on it. They're Hawaiian rolls and all this kind of stuff. And so it's really turned into an amazing program. And then when we realized that when the fires weren't happening, now I still have all these resources, I have all these volunteers. We have the trailer. So now what we do is when we don't have disasters, we go around and feed veterans and feed first responders. So we were just in New Jersey 2 weeks ago. We fed 1,200 veterans in New Jersey. We went to 2 different VFWs, put on 2 separate luncheons, one on Friday, one on Saturday, and just invited veterans and their families. Just come down. We're going to feed you for free, and just to say thank you. So we do that, and then we go to these first responder camps, like the CHP and the sheriff and the fire departments, and just say, hey, everybody in this area of Solano, or Napa, whatever, this day we're going to be here in this parking lot. Come on down. We'd love to feed you guys. So we just try to do positive welfare things. But on top of that, we have a reading advocacy program for kids in low income schools. We have a variety of packages of things that we try to do. But I can't be given this opportunity. I can't have this opportunity that I've had in my career and not take it and do something with it, because otherwise I think I'd be wasting so much of the energy that comes along with it. I gotta make sure that I share with people and shine the light. I get all the light show, on me. And I know you do the same thing. I just try to divert as much as I can to like, hey, let's look over here. But we've got some great sponsors and some great donors, and we give out a lot of scholarships. We do a lot of culinary schools, and we got a lot going on.
Yeah, well, when you were talking about Triple D, and I was saying, what's the impact when one of them gets on the show? You said, well, it depends. If there's a great character and there's great food and there's a great story, then it really turns out well. And that's what's so much fun talking to you about all of this, because you make great food, you're a great character, and you sure have a great story. And it's no accident that you are the most famous person in the food business, the food industry, the restaurant business in the entire country, and have been for a long time, because you fit the Triple D formula. It works for them, it works for you. So there you go. What goes around comes around, right?
I've never heard anybody ever spin that back on me. I'm just telling you, only you're the one that sees, you have that 30,000 foot view on things. So of course you would turn that right back on me. But no, I can see what you're saying with it. And it's so ironic that you would pick up on it and go, but no, being raised with good parents and in a great community, and staying grounded and staying, I remember when you and I first met, you said, how did you end up this way? I told you that story about my mom and dad, and what great people. I was just up in that little town, Ferndale. And so the museum wrote me and said, could you write the foreword for our community cookbook? We're going to make a cookbook with all the history of Ferndale. And I said, yeah. And I said, how many books are you going to sell? I said, we're going to sell 100. I said, that's all you can sell? And they said, no, we're going to sell 1,000, but we just don't have any money. I said, how much are the cookbooks? They said, $10 a piece. I said, all right, I'll buy all the cookbooks. $10,000. I'll pay for them. I'll write the foreword and I'll pay for the $10,000. And I said, but you have to sell the cookbooks for $40 a piece. And they said, great. So we just sold all the cookbooks, made $40,000 for the museum, which is their annual budget. Yeah. And people and everybody's like, and it's not where I come from. Where I come from, our community rallies like that. And I tell people this all the time. we can make a bigger difference in this world. You just have to you just got to move your skew maybe 10% more. Maybe it's not financial. Maybe it's participation. Maybe it's advocacy. Maybe it's just being vocal. But who knows what it is? But if we just moved it 10%, I think we could fix a lot of these issues, these social issues that we have in our country, and could make this a lot better place. But we're not going to do it bitching about it. We're going to have to really activate and participate one way or another, some form, shape, or form, do something. But we are empowered. We're the greatest country in the world. We brought ourselves from nothing a few different times and saved and turned righted this ship. I really hope we get this straight. And you're such a patriot and such a leader of the country. I look forward to seeing how you continue to help us see the vision on this, because it's ours to lose, folks.
Well, it is. And you're a perfect example of, like you say, you don't have to have a bunch of money to give $1 million to a cause. If what you have to give is your time, what you have to give, maybe a little bit of this or a little bit of that. Robin and I work in the foster care system and the court-appointed special advocates that help kids in the system when they have to go into court and stuff. And she got involved and raised $100 million in volunteer services for CASA in a year, just by people saying, hey, I don't have a lot of money, but I've got some time. Find a way. Everybody is complaining and there's so much divisiveness. If you took just a little bit of that energy, like you say, and said, what can I do? And you don't have to be organized. Hell, you drive by and see your truck out there and walk up and say, hey, can I serve? Give me a spoon, I'll put some beans on a plate. Just anything. We just need to start.
Take a picture and make positive affirmations on social media and talk about something good people are doing in this world versus getting all negative and down. We got enough negative energy floating around out there. Let's counterbalance it with positive energy. You know how many good things that we have going on in our community that doesn't make the front page of the paper because sensationalism doesn't, the sensationalism sells. So I'm with you, and please keep in mind that I'm always good. We play inside of our fields of things that we do, but I'm a huge fan of kids and family, and children really are the future. So you keep in mind when you guys do another fundraiser, how I can lend my support on that, and either send some items or send a visit to Triple D or something, and let me know how I can lean in on your project as well. I'd love to. I try to make sure that that's something I'm always involved in.
Well, you're great to say that, and I'll take you up on it for sure. Look, congratulations on all your success. I've been a huge fan forever. Jay and Robin send their regards, by the way. Jay, awesome. I told him I was talking to you, and he said to say, hey, listen, continued success, and thank you so much for everything you've done for so many people, particularly during the pandemic, but before and after. Certainly for the first responders and the vets and all. I look forward to seeing you soon. I'll show up in one of your restaurants. You can put the feed bag on me, and I'll hit him a big lick.
Well, anytime, my friend. And again, thank you for the invite to be here. I'm so excited. We've talked about this since we've known each other, about getting a project together, and one day we can do something. So I know they'll be calling you for a telethon or me for a something or another, but any chance I get to work with you, it would be an honor. And again, thank you for setting such a great example. I told you this when I met you and Jay, and we talked that day. I said, you've been just a great mentor and somebody that I really take the lead on, and what you see is what you get. And you are the genuine article. So all those compliments coming from you just mean the world. So thank you so much. And tequila will be, do you still have your same cell, I assume?
Oh yeah. All the same digits.
I got the same one too. I'll send you a text and have someone send Natalie an address, and tequila will be on its way.
I'm holding you to it.
I'm just asking for pictures of partying. That's all I want to see.
Oh, you'll get those. That's for sure. Guy, thanks so much. I'll see you soon, man.
You're awesome, boss. Thanks for having me.
Take care. All right, bye.
Take care.